Hello, wonderful. This is Sarah, and I'm here with Sarah today. So, Sarah Peyton is joining us on the Toxic Person Proof podcast and talking about making your brain a kinder place. Hey, Sarah, how are you?
I'm so well. I'm happy to be here. How are you, Sarah?
I'm great. I am great. Happy to talk to you. Happy to talk to you. And definitely happy to talk about this subject, right? Because for so many of us, especially after trauma, our brain is not a kind place, right?
No, not in any way.
So why does that happen?
Well, one of the main reasons it happens is because our little kid brains,
Mhm.
before the age of about 9 years old, really tend, not just tend, but absolutely believe that we are the cause of whatever it is that's going wrong. So if our mom is unhappy, we believe that we've done something wrong. If our grandma dies, we'll often believe that in some way there was something we did to contribute to it. Um, if our if our father loses his job and is depressed, we'll take it on like it's ours to carry somehow. It's almost like, well, for one thing, the little kid's brain doesn't see the whole big picture. It's not like our 8-year-old brain can go, oh, my dad is really suffering because his
Coronavirus. Yeah,
yeah,
something crazy happened in the world that had nothing to do with the child.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
So
so how do we untrain our brains or retrain our brains to become happier places?
the best way is really to begin to see the sense that we're trying to make with
Okay.
the cruelty that we have with ourselves. So if I beat myself up every time I make a mistake, then I want to start to say to that voice that's beating me up, oh, do you just want Sarah not to make any mistakes?
Mhm.
you know,
Okay.
to kind of become, it's a way, it's like an invitation to become bigger than our critical self-witness. And oftentimes our critical self-witness feels huge and we think there's no way I could be bigger than that voice. We just believe that it's telling us the truth. We kind of curl up in a little ball and let it kick us. But it's really important to begin to say to the critical voice, do you just want me to live better? Do you want people to like me? Do you want me to be safe? These are the kinds of questions we can start to ask that voice.
So basically asking the critical voice something other than what's wrong with me, right?
Right.
Because that's what we typically ask the critical voice, right?
Yes, that's beautiful. Exactly. Yeah.
So being able to say, what need am I trying to meet? Whether it be
What need am
safety,
I trying to meet? Or what,
connection.
yeah, or what's like, if you're like if we think of ourselves, what happens to me when I make a mistake?
Mhm.
Like, how do I treat myself when I make a mistake? Usually it's like, oh, you're such an idiot. How could you make that mistake again? You'll never get better. And so I'm listening, like I step aside. It's like I let that critical voice go a little bit, just like to be able to really hear it. And I step to the side and I look at it and I'm like, oh, what emotion is that critical voice in the middle of? And it can be hopelessness, despair, helplessness, contempt, anger. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be all kinds of those things that we really wish we didn't feel about ourselves, but that's okay, or each other.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, I hear that. I think that's contempt. And I think that voice wishes I were dead. That's a really intense one. And that's one that would, like, you're thinking, what on earth could be the need of the voice that wants me to be dead? So you kind of step into that, wants me to be dead. Do you want some rest? Are you so overwhelmed, and are you hopeless, and do you just want rest? And is death the only thing you can imagine that would let this poor brain that's just going 24/7 stop? Yeah. So there's just
So naming it, so recognizing it as a separate entity from yourself, right?
yeah,
Rather than thinking that's my voice talking to me,
exactly.
right? So
Yeah.
separating it as a separate piece of yourself naming what it's, being very clear. It's kind of like naming the emotion. Okay. Anger, contempt, whatever it is. Yeah. And then figuring out what need it's trying to meet. Is that what the 3 steps?
Yeah. And,
okay.
And it gets a little complicated. Just
I bet it does. Yes.
Because you think, oh, it's true. You know, I mean, that's the most complicated thing is the voice comes at you, you go, oh, it's true. I shouldn't be alive. And that's not what we want at all. That's not what it wants at all. It wants something else. So we don't take that as the final statement. Yeah.
And what do you find it usually wants? Rest, peace, maybe. I did high performance coaching. And one of the things they said is if you drop, this was actually not true for me, but I can see where it would be true with a lot of high performers. They said, do you think if you are not hard on yourself, you won't push yourself anymore? So that voice, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, right? So trying to hold on to that negative voice in your head as a means of achievement.
Yeah, because people are scared of depression. Yeah. Many of us have had terrifying moments, days, months, weeks where we haven't been able to move, and we're like, we never want to go back there again. Or we had
I don't want to go back there again. I can join that crowd of I do not want to go back there again. Yes.
You know, we can also have that experience if our parents were depressed. We can be terrified of depression. We've seen it take somebody out. So we're like, I am going to hang on to the whip to make myself move instead of getting anywhere close to depression. So there's a little bit of like faith in ourselves that starts to develop kind of naturally as we begin to bring kindness into the pictures. We begin to bring warmth into the picture. If we start to realize that trauma makes us actually not like ourselves and disrupts the self-warmth and self-affection process. And when we start to bring this funny big warmth to ourselves, like no matter what you're feeling, be a little bit bigger than what you're feeling and hold it with gentleness. Like if there's contempt, be bigger than the contempt. If there's despair and grief, be bigger than the despair and grief. We have this immense capacity that we don't even know about until we begin to awaken it and use it. And so this is a little bit of a glimpse, I think, into your high performance desire to keep.
Well, and I'd love to talk some exercises and some things I've done with some of my clients and love your feedback on it. Visualizing that toxic voice shrinking is something, and thinking of like myself as expanding, like visualization of that. Is that something that you've seen work, or any additions to that you would suggest?
Yeah. It's sort of the same thing as getting a little bigger. It's like admitting.
Yes, that's what made me think about it. Yes.
It's like admitting that really critical and poisonous inner voice is not everything. And it's hard to believe because it's so convincing. It's the most convincing voice that we've got. I like to say it's not truth, it's trauma.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, it's not truth, it's trauma. Something else, I think this is a Buddhist concept. I certainly do not take credit for this, but it was talking about thinking of your really difficult emotions as like a baby, like rocking your anger, rocking contempt. Have you?
I like to rock grief, but with anger, I like to have a sympathetic temper tantrum with it.
Okay.
Because if we've got an angry baby, then we want some acknowledgement that the angry baby has a point. And angry babies always have a point. It's always about needs not met. So if we know we have an angry temper tantruming baby inside of us, we can go, damn right, yes, no wonder you're angry. And then we name what we love. Do you love respect? Do you love fairness? Do you love equality? Do you love worlds that make sense? And just like being with that intensity is kind of different, because it's kind of difficult if you're rocking something that's just temper tantruming, because it's two different resonances in a way.
I love that. And I want to go back to it to make sure everyone heard what you said. Because, okay, so first I think so many people have a hard time. It's like, I think I say, well, who would be good at that? Because they're frustrated that they're angry at something, and typically when people, the empathetic kind types of people who are in my space, in my world, and my listeners, usually when they tell me what they're angry about, it's like, whoa, I would have been angry way before you. And they're feeling bad about it, or feeling guilty about it, or feeling shame about being angry. And it's like, I would have been angry 3 months ago or 3 years ago.
Right. But we have unconscious agreements against being angry.
Yes.
It's been toxic because we've seen it hurt other people, because it's hurt us, because it's destroyed families. We'll often have an agreement with ourselves: do not get angry no matter what. Keep the peace no matter what.
Yeah, but it doesn't work, right?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't work. It's depressing our life energy.
Yes, yeah, because we just turn the anger inward typically, right?
And what they found is that whatever we do to diminish anger diminishes all of our life energy. It takes everything else down with it. And
okay, that's really important. Let's back up that. I know what you're talking about, but some people that might be like a big concept. Yes. So when you are turning off your emotions, in many ways, you're turning off your creative energy, your confidence, your growth. Yes. Yeah. Because
your knowledge that things are dangerous and you need to get the heck out.
Yeah.
All of those things get dampened.
Yes.
Grief gets dampened. We don't know we're sad. Yeah.
And then after several years of this, we have to give ourselves permission to access these feelings again.
Yeah, we really do. We need to just examine that. If we have a contract with ourselves not to be angry, then we need to think, what am I doing with that contract not to be angry? I will not be angry is it in order to save my mother? Is it in order to protect my siblings? Is it in order to create the world that I want to live in?
I think with most of my ladies, it would be how, I don't want anyone to be mad at me, or I don't want anyone not to like me. That would be a very common theme. Then
we need to say to ourselves, do you need acknowledgement that you have very good historical reasons for believing this?
Yeah.
Indeed,
that's great.
Yeah, that indeed you were impacted negatively, that people withdrew from you, that your mother couldn't bear it, that your father exploded in anger. Do you need acknowledgement that, yes, of course you have an idea that anger's harmful?
And thank you for that. Because sometimes that very much aligns with what I teach, but sometimes that doesn't feel like what people are saying sometimes. And I really because I say, well, of course you would be angry. Well, who wouldn't be angry about that? Right. And in that way, the way you said it, acknowledge that there was that kept you safe at some point in your life.
Yeah. And the only way to control anger without depressing all of the other life energies is to ally it with love, to really tap into, what do I love? I'm angry because I love people to live in a world where they don't have to be scared. I'm angry because my partner has controlled my income for the last 4 years, and I need sources of life energy myself. I need to have my own sources of income. I need to be able to make my own choices. Of course I'm angry because I love my children so much and I want them to be safe and live without harm. There are so many things that our anger is actually connected to when it's connected to our love. The sun is right in.
Shut this blind. Speaking of life source, I always want to do it right here beside this window. And I had some life source on me and my face as I was speaking with you. I was like, oh, it's so nice. I like to talk to people and look at. So my outside, if you turn around and look at your painting,
yes,
that is literally what I'm looking at. I mean, like almost exactly like that is what I'm outside looking at. So I always love to do these lives and do these things so I can stare like at your painting, and it's like a double thing. But the sunset as soon as we started talking. So coupling it with love. So what are some other exercises? You talked about, I want to recap what you said. So making that voice smaller, being bigger than that emotion, naming it, naming,
What it wants.
naming what it wants,
Yeah.
and then saying, I love justice. I
Yeah.
love fairness. I love people doing right by the people they're supposed to be in family with. I
Yeah.
love feeling secure in my job.
Yeah.
I love feeling secure in my relationships. I love, like, is that what you're talking about?
Absolutely.
Awesome. What other tips and tricks do you have for making our brain a kinder place?
Well, when we find that we've got a contract, we need to let it go.
Mhm.
So when we discover, Sarah and Sarah are telling me something that I needed to hear, I do have a contract that's saying I should not get angry.
Is should the key word for someone trying to figure out what their contract is the should word pretty
Very good
common?
word is a clue. Yeah.
Yeah, very good clue word. Yeah,
Not
yeah.
understood. I shouldn't have spoken. I shouldn't have laughed so loudly. I shouldn't have let anybody know I was angry. I shouldn't have expressed my pain.
Mm-hmm.
All those things point exactly to contract.
So my thing is more like, because I'm trying to think, I've obviously done a lot of self-work in this arena. And it's like, I think I shouldn't be tired. I think it's one of the main things. I am not very kind about.
That one sounds like it might be, and it might be for many people, many women. I will not allow myself to acknowledge my tiredness.
Yeah, no,
in order to, what's that in order to?
I've got a lot of things I want to accomplish in my life, right? I've got a lot of things, and
the things I want to do done.
Yes, I want the things I want to do done. I am I say I'm going to change the world. I am changing the world.
Yes.
I'm making it a better place. And not that, probably some of it is somewhat of a God complex left over of like, I'm responsible for saving everyone,
Yeah.
I've gotten better with my relationship with the people in my life. Go ahead.
Here's the important thing. Now we need to acknowledge the cost of the contracts to us. So the next piece is to say, I, Sarah, solemnly swear to my essential self that I will not acknowledge my own tiredness in order to get everything done that I want to get done and to help people and save people and make the world a better place, no matter the cost to myself.
That's definitely my trigger point, because as you're talking, I'm like, like I haven't had that kind of emotional reaction about something in a long time. I do a lot of self-work, obviously. So that's right. Like that's the weak spot. That's my little kryptonite, as you just did.
So now we talk to your essential self. It's like a dialogue.
Okay. So bring me through it again when I'm not having a panic attack. Okay. Bring me through it again. Yes. Okay.
I, Sarah, solemnly swear to my essential self.
Solemnly swear to my essential self.
We have to swear to somebody so we can release it. In that I will not acknowledge my own tiredness.
That I will not acknowledge my own tiredness.
In order to get everything done that I want to get done.
In order to get everything done that I need to get done.
In order to save the world and help people.
In order to save the world and help people.
No matter the cost to myself.
No matter the cost to myself.
Yeah.
I'm glad this is recorded. I'm going to have to go back and listen to I don't usually listen to the podcast again, but this one I'm going to have to go back and listen to. Hey, you're obviously very good at what you do, because I have not, I had not had that much of an emotional reaction to something in a long time. Yes.
Okay. So now we say, Sarah's essential self. Did you hear the contract?
Sarah's essential self. Did you hear the contract?
What did she say?
Oh, she heard it. She didn't like it though. She's not down with giving up.
She does not want that for you. Now she gets to say, Sarah, I release you from this contract.
Sarah, I release you from this contract.
And I revoke this vow.
And I
revoke
this vow. Okay. I revoke this vow.
Instead, I give you my blessing to, what's the blessing?
And instead, I give you my blessing to move in flow, live in peace, and live in rest.
And maybe is it, and to let yourself be carried by your love.
And to let yourself be carried by your love.
In your work of changing the world.
In your work of changing the world.
And at the same time, to take sweet, sweet care of your own self and notice when you need a little rest.
And at the same time, take care of your sweet, sweet self, sweet little self, and know when you need rest. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad that's recorded. And from going through this experience, I would probably suggest someone made a recording on their phone, or is that what you have people do?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because that involves some rewiring.
Yes. How does your body, just notice, how's your body doing? I mean, you're multitasking, you're doing a process, and you've got a podcast audience you're taking care of, but how are you doing in this moment?
Pretty good. I've been through a lot of life coaches, and that is the one piece that everyone comes back to is that piece right there. It's been, I'm just like, my mom said I was like that as a baby. She goes, you just wanted to get down and go through the world. I came out that way.
The mission.
I do have a mission. Yes, I do have a mission, but no, it's a mission that involves a balance, as you well know, because if you're showing up exhausted and someone is asking you life advice or trusting you with their deepest, darkest places, that's like a surgeon. You don't show up for surgery tired, to me, and I'm sure you're the same way.
There's another level, so you can work with that later. I won't step into my own tiredness in order to make sure that I can be fully with the people I love. So, yeah.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. That was great, Sarah. Thank you. And I think that's such a good example of what you're talking about and what your work is. Tell us a little bit about where people can find more about you.
Yes, absolutely. So there's a book that's available on online booksellers called Your Resonant Self, and by Sarah Peyton. And there's a workbook that's coming out on May 25th that has the contract stuff that we've just been doing. It's a whole workbook of contracts called the Your Resonant Self Workbook. So that's going to be really fun too for anybody who's like, wow, that was kind of an interesting thing that Sarah's just did.
Oh, that's awesome. And I'll make sure we release, if you give me that date, we'll make sure and release a podcast right around that time to make sure that works for you. Yes. We'll happy to do that. Well, Sarah, thank you so much. Are there any last words of wisdom that you want to give to people trying to make their brain a kinder place?
Yeah. So I think my words of wisdom today are fall into your own arms.
Yeah. I love that. And trust yourself to catch you.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Sarah Peyton, for coming with us on our journey today to help you become toxic person proof.